Hey, PS, great. The last digit of your like on this video is someone from the meme background, and the last digit of your subscription to my channel will show your subject from the meme background. So come down right now, subscribe and like. Look at the screen, pay attention to the last digit of your like and your subscription. And write someone from chalk background in the comments. It's simple if your like is the 8th, and the last digit of the subscription is number 5 here and a lemon with a cactus. Show your imagination and enjoy your viewing. And great, dear friends, you're on the Melancholy channel. In this video we'll talk about the evolution of the chalk playground. Let's say we sum it up from 14.0 to 16.0. That is, we will touch on 3 global versions, which we will talk about. But before the start of the video, as always, I want to say a huge thank you to these guys for getting into my videos. If you want to get to the next videos, then everything is quite simple. You need to subscribe to the channel, like it, write your top comment. Well, don't forget to subscribe to the cart and a link as always in the description. In general, I will not drag out your time and enjoy your viewing. It's a pretty strange time in the chalk playground. Updates have stopped coming out from developers with the same intensity as before. There is less content for me to show it to you, because, to be honest, I no longer know what kind of video to come up with. But I don't think it's a big problem for you, it's a problem for me. And yet I would like to summarize what has happened to chalk background over the last 3 global updates. In this update we include 14.0, 15.0, 16.0. We will not include intermediate versions here, because these are intermediate versions. Anyway, they were, let's say, an addition to the main update and I think it's quite logical. And let's move on to exit times 14.0. What was added at 14.0? I'm already wondering myself, because it seems to have been quite recently, but it's been 3 whole months. And just imagine a lot of things have changed in these 3 months. If we turn to 14.0 right now, then it will be clear where the developers were starting to move at that moment. And they began to move towards physics. Not so much on filling the game with content, as in the quality of physics and the study of certain aspects, which seems to me on the one hand right, but this was their critical mistake, which they are now reaping. That is, in fact, if they had not made that mistake, there would not have been such a decline now, there would not have been these problems, and in principle everything would have seemed simpler to me. Well, the main thing that I think was added to the chalk background is of course a water pistol, or rather the addition of cool physics there. In reality, physics became working and they began to work on this physics literally at every step and at every future update. Whether it's explosions, whether it's different cars and so on. That is, in fact, it was just a blank for a future update. But still, this blank played a very important role in the formation of the chalk playground. Also, at 14.0, a section of medicine was added, which was removed a very long time ago. And they actually removed it by mistake, for which they caught a lot of hate from fans of this game, but still they came to their senses and returned this magnificent section, which bore fruit for them. Really, the medicine section has been solved and now it is in quite huge demand in the chalk background, which seems to me pretty cool. But there was also enough strangeness in this update. For example, one of the strangest decisions was simply adding new toys. I don't understand why these toys are needed in gifts at all, but you added a couple of interesting things there, but why there are so many of them, I honestly don't understand. And now almost no one uses this gift. Perhaps it will become relevant for the new year, but then I still didn't understand what this update was about. In general, quite strange things were happening at that moment and it could not but please. There were golden times, I'm not afraid of this word. Well, another example of the fact that the developers, let's say, put the vector of development on physics, on the quality of this physics. This is of course Molotov. Despite the fact that this liquid is practically not visible if you use ground and in normal mode, but if you zoom in, we see how the water inside shimmers. She's just like the real one. I do not know, in general, they worked very well on the liquid. Rain and snow have also been added in this update. I don't know about you, but one question came to me as much as possible with rain and snow. This is a really cool feature that just adds variability to the game, which I think is only a plus. And of course they added a parachute. And thanks to the parachute, in fact, I made a huge amount of content, so for me it was just the most golden time with chalk, really 4 months have already passed 100 updates and we have passed 2 whole global updates. These are 14.0, 15.0 and 16.0, in fact, the third version, and it's just great. And let's summarize. The addition of new physics, a parachute, the return of medicine, and just cool innovations. You sharpen just small, but cool innovations. And yet the clone was on physics and on the quality of this physics. Well, the next update is 15.0. As for me, this is the best update in the entire history of the Playrgound. You may disagree with me, but think for yourself. Firstly, there is a huge amount of resonance around this update, because there would be this version that was given to YouTubers. YouTubers made content and warmed up the audience for this update, and it was all so cool, so just interesting. All this hype was really breathtaking. Well, besides that, there was a huge number of atoms, various cool items that I would like to see in the meme Playrgound. And it seems to me that it was at this moment, exactly at the moment of 15.0, that the developers were doing as correctly as possible. They released 15.0, gave beta to a limited number of people who whetted interest. But what they did wrong was that they gave a lot of people 15.0. It was necessary to do this in limited quantities, but that's not the point. In addition, they really added very cool items that really cause hype, gave out beta, fueled interest, and really at this moment it would seem that the cute background is the #1 game in general, in principle, on Android. Well, as it seemed to me, at one point it was exactly like that. Literally there for a couple of days it was just the internet buzzing, everyone was talking about it. But there was a sharp decline. The developers quieted down and did not start making mistakes with this version. For example, the version of adding with a robot, which, to be honest, I still don't understand. Well, okay, we won't touch on the intermediate version today. Let's talk in principle. What did 15.0 add and why, as it seems to me, is it so cool? Well, first of all, it's a Jeep. Can you imagine adding a transport that they themselves said they would never have? And they eventually did it. Adding new sports items. In fact, to be honest, it was possible not to add them, and in principle they were not needed in chalk. But for variability, why not? Also in this update, there was a voting system that had never been before and which was added, which really also relatively went to the guys who play meme Playrgound. And of course poems. The elements just tore up, and as for me, this is one of the most useful, cool things that in general, in principle, there is a chalk black. Write in the comments if you think the same. This is if you briefly look at what happened at all at 15.0. And it was just recently, but it's been 2 whole months, guys. That is, in short, it is beta, elements, Jeep, new sports atoms. Just imagine how many interesting things there were 15.0, and later, in general, a robot of some kind appeared deleting memes of characters, and then, to be honest, an error of 16.0. A very strange update, which I still don't understand. And why they don't fix the mistakes they made in the fixes, as it was before. Perhaps the developers have gone on vacation, I don't understand. It's been 3.5 weeks since the release of 16.0, but in fact there is no word about this update and, in principle, about the chalk of the news Playrgound. Then I want to understand what awaits us next. When will the new content be brought to the chalk of the Playrgound? Because chalk Playrgound is the kind of game that needs constant addition of content. Because without it, it becomes quite boring, monotonous, not interesting. And it is the updates that save this situation. But despite all these mistakes, there are also bright sides to this update. And of course it's an autosave and an APC. The scooter is just utter nonsense, it can be cleaned, it is not interesting. But the APC and autosave are just what saves this update. And the laser gun partially justifies its name. She's also really cool, but as for me, a paintball gun would be cooler. But this is my opinion and it happened as it happened. And we enjoy what we have. Both the APC laser gun and the autosave more or less smooth out the impression of this update. Well, or just think about it, this is a global update, a global one. And all that was added is essentially a car safe, an APC, a scooter, and that's it. There was nothing else in this update. And it's quite strange. I hope this of course will not be repeated in future updates, and we are waiting for more interesting content, expanded. I do not know, just that it blows our heads. I have some such thoughts about this update about 16.0. Well, I hope I managed to skip you through a retrospective of all previous global updates recently from 14.0. We will not take intermediate updates, because there is also a lot of interesting things that happened there, but if you want to see it, then we will analyze this. And with that, it's time to bring my video to an end. Thank you all for watching this issue, good luck to everyone, so far, and I remember my friend, as always, I'll see you the other day.